This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
You've been thinking about hard completely backwards. See, most people treat difficulty like a restraining order, something the universe had filed against them to keep them from, getting what they want. But guess what? That's not what hard is for. Hard isn't the barrier. Hard is the filter. It's the thing that keeps your competition out. And once that clicks, everything changes. Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, the podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on your journey to becoming a powerful communicator. All right, so I want to start with a confession. For years, every time something got hard in the classroom, on stage, in my own business, I assumed I'd done something wrong. I thought hard meant I'd missed a step. I thought eventually, if I got good enough, it would stop being hard, but it never stopped. And it took me way too long to figure out why. Today, I want to walk you through 3 ideas, mostly drawn from John Maxwell's work, that completely changed how I think about difficulty. And by the end, I think you'll start seeing your hardest weeks differently too. So let's get into it. Here's what most people get wrong about difficulty. They think it has an exit date. They believe if they just push through long enough, things eventually get comfortable. And when that comfort doesn't show up on schedule, they assume something's broken. Maybe it's the plan, or maybe it's them. The military has an honest little phrase for this. We call it embrace the suck. And the part that matters isn't embrace, it's suck. The suck never ends. You don't graduate from it. You don't hit some level where things stop being hard. You hit a level where the hard changes shape, but it never disappears. That catches almost everyone off guard. I know it, and it caught me off guard. John Maxwell writes about this in Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. His argument is that experience isn't actually the best teacher. Evaluated experience, that's a different thing entirely. And most people just accumulate hard things. They go through it, and they come out the other side with more mileage, but not more wisdom. The people who actually grow are the ones who stop and ask what the difficulty was trying to teach them. And here's why most people skip that step. Evaluating difficulty requires something most of us don't want to give it: honest reflection in the middle of being uncomfortable. It's so much easier to just wait for the hard to end, to sit inside it and ask what it's pointing at. So the shift has to start here. Stop treating hard like a temporary inconvenience and start treating it like a permanent feature of anything worth doing. Because hard isn't just something you survive. Hard is where the growth actually happens. And here's the framework to change how I think about failure completely. Every setback contains a step forward inside it, but only if you're willing to evaluate it instead of just white-knuckling your way through it. Napoleon Hill said, most people who reach real success do it one step past their greatest failure. That's not a poster you hang up in your break room. That's a structural observation about how growth actually works. Growth doesn't happen in the comfortable stretches. It happens in the moments that test you, the moments that leave you unsure, the moments that tempt you to just quit already. Why? Because difficulty exposes what you actually know versus what you only think that you know. And comfort lets you fake it. Hard makes you find out if the foundation is even real. Think about a seed for a second. A seed cannot grow without being buried. The darkness, the pressure, the work of breaking through the dirt, none of that is a sign that something's wrong. That's the actual condition for growth. And the seed doesn't resent the weight of the soil sitting on top of it. It just does the work of becoming something bigger than it currently is. The military gets this instinctively. Embrace the suck was never about loving misery for its own sake. It's about understanding the discomfort is exactly where development happens. A soldier who never gets pushed never finds out what they're capable of. An athlete who only trains in perfect conditions never finds out what they can do when everything falls apart. But here's where most people get tripped up. They assume if they find the right strategy, the right mentor, the right system, eventually the hard will stop. And it doesn't. It just relocates. You stop getting challenged by the basics, and you start getting challenged by the intermediate stuff. Then the hard stuff, then the stuff only a handful of people on Earth can do. And each level feels harder than the last. And not because you're getting worse, but because you're getting better, and the stakes go up. The margin for error shrinks, and the competition thins out. And that's the whole point. If you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not growing. That's not a motivational line, that's a diagnostic. But knowing all this doesn't make hard easier. Honestly, it makes it harder. Because now you actually have to engage with it instead of just waiting it out. And that's exactly where most people fall apart. Here's the danger zone. When difficulty compounds, when hard starts stacking on top of hard, most people don't dig in. They fall apart. And it's not because the difficulty got worse. It's because their relationship to it never changed. They kept treating hard like an enemy to be managed instead of a process to be worked through. Maxwell frames this as changing your response to failure instead of trying to eliminate failure altogether. You can't control what happens to you. You can control what happens in you. So here's the actual perspective shift. Stop seeing hard as something being done to you and start seeing it as proof that you're in the arena. The people who aren't experiencing hard right now are the people who aren't trying anything. They're coasting. They're staying in the shallow end where nothing challenges them enough to grow. But the second you step into the deep end, the second you decide to do something that actually matters, the hard doesn't politely scale up with your skill level. It actually jumps. And if your mindset hasn't made the same jump, you read that as a sign you should retreat back to the shallow end. The shift happens the moment you stop asking, why is this so hard? And start asking, what is this hard stuff building in me? Same circumstances, same difficulty, but a completely different relationship to it. Hard is not a punishment. Hard is evidence you're growing. And once that clicks, the difficulty doesn't decrease, but your experience of it does. You stop fighting it. You start working with it. The thing you were afraid of turns out to be the thing that was building you the whole time. So let's make this practical. 3 things you can start doing this week. First, when you hit something difficult, don't ask how to make it stop. Ask what it's trying to teach you. That one question changes your entire relationship to hard things. Instead of resenting the obstacle, you start listening to it. Second, treat every setback like a directional signal, not a dead end. Maxwell's right that evaluated experience beats raw experience. The evaluation is what turns a failure into actual information. So the question isn't, why did this happen to me? It's, what is this teaching me about what needs to actually change? And that one reframe is the difference between someone who stalls out for good and someone who keeps moving. And third, change your relationship with discomfort before discomfort changes you. Embrace the suck was never permission to enjoy misery. It's a refusal to let the discomfort be the deciding vote on whether you keep going. The second you let discomfort make that decision for you, you've handed it more power than it ever deserved. So here's where I'll leave you. Hard is not the problem. Hard is the process. And if you can get comfortable with that one sentence, you will outlast almost everyone still waiting around for things to get easier. The people who win aren't the ones who found a way around hard. They're the ones who got comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a competitive advantage nobody wants to talk about, but it works. That's all for today. Remember, we're looking for progress, not perfection. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Formula for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.